if I look at alcohol from the view of, well, it's going to give me a beer belly, although that's not something to strive for. And I
It's
look
not
at it as
necessarily
it's going.
something to avoid either.
When I look at it as something where it's going to reduce my brain mass, when I look at it as something like it's going to make me less sharp, when I look at it as something um, where it is going to lower the number of years that I am on this earth, apparently, or there is some sort of risk of that, either through disease or just longevity or whatever. That only makes sense if a human person is a machine, and we are
Yeah,
not and we are not machines. We are
we
not
are not.
cogs in the productivity wheel of modern
Yep.
capitalism. We are human beings. We are
We
sons
are
and
not
daughters of
flesh
God.
machines. We are, yes, we are the children of God, and we must act like it, which means that there is a time to sow and a time to reap. There is a time to weep, a time to mourn. There is a time to rejoice.
And if I'm going to make a fair assessment of what alcohol does, I can look at the drawbacks, right? I can look at that light, moderate, heavy drinking, what those do to one's health. I can look at the effects it can have on society. I can look at the bad things that it can fuel. But my analysis is going to be incomplete if I don't look at the good things it can fuel. So what are those things? I return to the same image of Shire living. I return to the same image of what Sarah finds awesome about Catholic families throwing parties. It's joy, it's merriment, it's community, it's conversation. There's something to lowering somebody's anxiety and fueling these things in a good community. There's
Being
something
able
to,
to loosen up, and there is something to the loosen up and let your hair down,
yeah, there's
which
something to,
applies more to me than it does to Dominic. But
whatever. I'm going to lose my hair. You can keep growing it. There's, there's something to losing one's inhibitions so that they can further glorify God and bring others closer to Him. And that doesn't mean get drunk. That's a grave sin. Don't do that.
deliberately getting drunk is a grave sin. If you inadvertently got drunk because you didn't know where your limit was, and you got offered one more drink and you took it thinking you could take it and you couldn't, that might
This
be a
is
sin, but it's not grave.
this is why there's a difference between grave and mortal sins. So anybody who has looked at an image of a good person drinking, of a good community drinking, of the joy that that brings, of a good gathering, they should be able to figure out that there is a temperate way to do this. So, and it's possible that most people who listen to this will not have been exposed to that. And that's sad. But I can promote it nonetheless. And I can say, if that's the way your friends are, find better friends. Or try to, you know?
Yeah,
If
there's.
that's the way your community is, try and reform it.
I would
Try
say
and
the.
say, there is a good way to use this thing. I don't
I
need
would
to go
say.
buy the 6-pack of Miller Lite and just down it in a night.
I would say that
I can do this instead.
most people's exposure and culture about alcohol in general. Which, this being said, I drink a lot faster than you do. I've had two, and it takes and the time it's taken you to have like 2/3. But most
There's
people's culture around alcohol in general, mostly it's either the absence or the excess. It's either, well, we really don't care, we're just going to have as much fun as possible, and getting drunk is fun, and we like getting drunk, and that's the reason alcohol exists, is to get drunk. So we're just going to use it and get drunk. Or it's the, well, alcohol only exists so that you can get drunk and that you can overuse it, so we're not going to do it at all. That's most people's, at least in our country, that's most people's exposure to it.
mm-hmm.
When the actual exposure to it is, a lot of alcoholic beverages taste really good. And sometimes there is a reason to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have to acknowledge that there is a risk.
Yeah, and so it's a matter of finding that temperate mean. And if you want, there's a number of ways to define that, and where your line is going to be different per person. But here's one quick idea that we already said. There are days for fasting and there are days for feasting. And feasting doesn't mean drink the 6-pack.
Yeah.
Drinking, feasting doesn't mean do what I fear you're going to do when I overhear you talking about going drinking on the weekend.
Yeah.
It means do precisely what Ethan and I are doing.
Yes.
I
Drink
have
over
one or two.
conversation.
Yeah. Contemplate the higher things.